When we start prioritizing the fact that we are pursuing art because we love it, we are pursuing this creative process because it brings us and others joy, that shifts the trajectory, that shifts how we take this journey from point A to point B. Hello friend, welcome back to the channel. I'm super excited that you're here. Today we are kicking off the Back on the Wagon challenge. This is a challenge I created specifically for creatives going into the fourth quarter. If you're feeling like you've just fallen off the wagon and you want to get back up and get some things done before the beginning of the new year, then this challenge is for you. Now, if you are not seeing this during the quarter four, that's okay. This challenge really is for any creative who really just feels like they started off with some big visions, some goals, some things in mind that they wanted to accomplish, and somehow have lost a little bit of their step. And there are a lot of reasons for that, but maybe you're really itching to get started again on that thing that you said you were going to do, on the project you promised yourself you were going to work on, and somewhere along the way you stopped. This challenge is going to work for you. Whenever you want to do this, it will be helpful. Let's go back to the early thousands when I was sitting in computer lab and we were all trying to get our geography quizzes and our computer typing assessments done so that we could play the school approved games that were on the computer, because that's what you did back in the early thousands, or at least that's what I did. There were a few games that were approved, but one of them was the Oregon Trail. The Oregon, whatever. And I'll admit, I never played, but we would huddle around and watch each other play. And I just thought it was a fascinating game. If you've ever played this game, in theory, it's a simple game, but it actually took a significant amount of strategy to be successful. The basic premise of this game was you needed to get your party from Independence, Missouri, all the way out to Willamette Valley. And there were a lot of things that came into this. You had to think about your health, you need to think about your pace, hunting, supplies, you had to think about the terrain, you had to think about the weather. You had all of these things that you had to learn to pivot through and work through in order to get safely to the other side, to the end of the trail. Again, seems simple enough, but I can hear the collective groaning from here, because if you've ever really played that game, you will know that it's a lot of strategy. And if you're not careful, you will end with this kind of sickly green, uber pixelated screen that says, "You have died of dysentery." I was like, that's it. That's the perfect illustration for creatives who are feeling really, really discouraged and feeling like they want to get back up, but they just don't know how because everything feels so overwhelming. So if that's you, if you resonate, then this is definitely for you. I'm going to have a handful of lessons, hopefully some PDFs for you to follow along with, and also just some fun graphics that I made in honor of dying of dysentery and other fun things. If you find yourself lying on the ground, looking up in the sky, wondering how on earth you fell off the wagon, then most likely you are suffering from a pretty hardcore case of overwhelm. Now, there are a lot of different reasons why you might be feeling overwhelmed, and I'm not going to go into every single one of them, but I am going to go over a handful that seem to be generally common across most creatives, including myself. So the first one, you don't have any established structure. This is something that we will go into deeper into another lesson, but as a creative, it can be very easy to feel like I don't need structure because I need freedom. I need to be able to create. I don't need anybody, including myself, telling me what to do and when to do it. This is actually a huge downfall for creatives, and I learned it the hard way, so I would like to hopefully give you some tips and some encouragement that have helped me along the way, along with other creatives. Another reason you might be experiencing a fair bit of overwhelm and have found yourself falling off the wagon is that you don't know what your current capacity is. Now, capacity is something that's ever changing and it's ever shifting because that's how life is. Life has a lot of ups and downs, and so those things are going to affect your capacity. Not being honest about what your true capacity is at any point in time in your life and your creative journey can really slow things down for you and really lead to a serious case of overwhelm. Which leads me to the third thing that might be causing you a severe case of overwhelm, and that is your pace doesn't match your current capacity. Now, if you don't know what your current capacity is, then you might not be setting the right pace. And if you ever played this game, you know that going too fast or too slow can have some really adverse effects on your party and its supplies, stamina, health, XYZ. So, you need to know what your pace is, and your pace really needs to be in alignment with what your current capacity is. Which leads me to the final thing that might be giving you a serious case of overwhelm and knocking you back off of that wagon, and that is not trying to get to where you're going as a whole person. If you've been around here for any period of time, then you will know I am not a fan of hustle culture. I'm not really into that whole rise and grind thing. It's just not uber healthy, at least for me. Maybe that works for you, but I found for most people, especially creatives, that particular mindset is not overly helpful. And because a lot of our culture is that overnight success, quick, 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 I want to make fast changes, I want to see results right now, it can be very easy to try to bring that into our creative process, and that usually leaves us with a pretty severe case of overwhelm, which can lead us to burning out, getting bored, or just wanting to give up entirely. When we start prioritizing the fact that we are pursuing art because we love it, we are pursuing this creative process because it brings us and others joy, that shifts the trajectory, that shifts how we take this journey from point A to point B. If you're more concerned about getting there than getting there in one piece, you might find yourself really taking on a lot of damage and maybe not getting to where you want to go in the first place. This is a lesson that I honestly learned the hard way. I was desperate for money. I was also desperate to just make some kind of impact. I wanted to be valued. I wanted people to see that what I was pursuing creatively meant something to me. And so I jumped wholeheartedly into that hustle culture, into that hardcore marketing, into that pushy kind of sales type of technique, and you know what? It didn't work. It left me damaged. And it left me at the starting line again so many times. It left me going all the way back to the start of my process again because I had forgotten who I was. I had forgotten why I was doing what I was doing. So I had to start over again and again and again. And honestly, I don't want to do that anymore. I'd rather go slower and bring my whole person along. I'd like to get there in one piece as a whole person, not trying to cut off pieces of myself or things that matter to me to get there faster. Those are the 4 lessons that I want to present to you over the next 4 to 5 videos. That is structure, capacity, pace, and wholeness. And I really, really am hoping that this will be encouraging to you and help you get back up off the ground and maybe kickstart your way into something that you have left behind or put down because you were overwhelmed, or maybe you felt hurt and you gave up, but at the end of the day, you still feel it tugging on you and pulling you and calling you to come back to it. I hope that this will be a wonderful tool for you. I hope this will be something that will be encouraging. Before we get there and before I present those next videos to you, I want to stop here and give you a little bit of our first challenge, homework, whatever, side quest, whatever you want to call it. Maybe side quest. I like side quest. I think at the beginning of this journey, especially a journey that maybe you're not super excited to take, because let's be honest, if you have really, really been hurt or disappointed or rejected and you are having to get back up again, sometimes you're not as excited as you were when you first started, when you first had that first love or that first ideation of the project, and you were like, I'm so excited, I'm gonna do this. After you've failed or fallen off the wagon multiple times, it's not as fun and it's not as easy to get up the next time. So this is why I like to organize our overwhelm right here. The best illustration that I can come up with is a pile of laundry. Let me explain. If you're anything like me, you are fine with putting the laundry in the washing machine, and you're even fine putting it in the dryer or hanging up to dry, but you are terrible at putting it away. Now, if you have no problem putting it away, let's just pretend that you are imperfect like the rest of us, and we will all envy you for being so organized and put together. But what ends up happening is all of those clean clothes end up in a pile, usually in the corner of my room. And I cannot tell you how many times in the middle of the night when the lights are off and it's dark and I have to get up to go to the bathroom, that pile of laundry scares the living daylights out of me because it looks like a person sitting in the corner waiting to like kidnap or murder me. And you would think I would learn, but here we are. And the thing that's so funny about that is intrinsically, I know that's just a pile of laundry, but in the middle of the night when I'm tired and sleep deprived or getting up to go to the bathroom, my brain doesn't automatically go there because the lights are off and it's dark and there's shadows in the corner. My brain immediately goes into fight or flight, and my anxiety goes through the roof. Here's the thing, in the day, I'm not scared. Oh, I'm a little scared of the pile of laundry, let's be honest. But in the day, I can see it as a pile of laundry. It's just a pile of laundry that I need to put away. And this is what kind of the overwhelm in your brain, I think, at least for myself, this is what the overwhelm in your brain looks like, feels like. When you have all of these thoughts, ideas, disappointments, things that is in your head that you have not processed, that you have not got out, it piles up, all those things pile up like that laundry basket, and when you don't get it out, there's not light being shed on it, and so it feels much scarier than maybe it really is. And what I like to do to declutter my mind is to really just kind of flip on the lights and recognize it's just a pile of laundry. Now, just because we now know it's a pile of laundry and not somebody trying to murder us in the middle of the night, it doesn't negate the work that needs to be done, right? It doesn't negate the fact that you're gonna still have to put your laundry away, you're still gonna have to fold it, you're gonna still have to take it out of its haphazard piles and put it where it belongs. It doesn't mean that there isn't work ahead, but what it does is it kind of eliminates a bit of that fear and anxiety and makes it something that is just a task, something you can handle. This is an exercise that I've had some of my students do in the past, and they've really enjoyed it. They've found it to be very, very helpful. And so this is the part of organizing your overwhelm that I'm talking about. We are going to declutter your mind, and here's the process that I go through. First, we want to get it out. Personally, I think writing and or typing it out, getting it to where it's out of here and it's somewhere where you can look at it, I personally think that's the best way to do it, but you retrofit this to whatever works best for you. But first, you're going to get it all out. And I have some journal prompts for you in case you don't know where to start. I have some good ones that will really get things churning inside, but you want to get it all out first of all. Once you've gotten everything out on paper or on digital paper, we are going to assess legitimate concerns versus stray thoughts and atom bombs. What are atom bombs? This is actually a term that my friend came up with, and it perfectly describes what I think so many of us do, especially as creatives. But an atom bomb is like a stray thought that just spirals out of control so quickly that you start off one place and you're somewhere so far away that you're like, whoa, that got out of control. That got completely out of control. And we need to be able to separate these two, because sometimes when it's in that pile of laundry, they get all mixed in and you begin to think your whole life is over. You're never gonna make it. You're the worst artist ever. Everything is terrible. Oh my gosh, we need to separate those things. So what are your legitimate concerns about, okay, these are the things I need to update my website. I need to have a content library or resource library. I have, I have this that I want to do. I have this project. Okay. These are legitimate concerns. I don't have enough money for that. I don't know. Do I have enough talent for that? And those are legitimate concerns. Okay. Versus, oh my gosh, somebody commented negatively. I am therefore the worst person that ever lived. These are atom bombs. We need to push those away. We need to set them aside because they're not realistic and they will severely damage the way forward for you. Okay, so first we're going to get it out, and then we are going to assess what is legitimate and what are kind of those stray thoughts and atom bombs. Then after we do that, you are going to separate what do you have control and capacity for right now and what do you not. There are a lot of things that happen to us that we have no control over. It's just happening. Maybe it's a season, maybe it's a situation, maybe it's a person in your life. There are a lot of things that happen to us that we really don't have control over. And as much as it might suck in the moment, we can't really do anything about. It's there. We can process, we can try to approach it healthily, but it's more about this is just what's happening right now, and I need to learn to healthily walk through it. You need to be able to separate that from what do I actually have control over? What are some things that I can work on? What are some tasks that I can do? For me as a creative, it's very easy for me to get those things tangled, right? So I've gotten everything out. I've decided these are my legitimate concerns. And then I look at those legitimate concerns and I tie in all of the things that I have no control over. I tie in all the things that it's like, this is just what's happening to me and I can't necessarily fix it right now. I have to just walk through it. I try to tie that in to the things that I can do, the things that I can control. And that list of things becomes so big and broad. And the truth is, I'm not going to make any progress in those areas other than trying to keep myself healthy. Like, I'm not going to be able to change other people. So I need to leave those things off the list. I can be gracious about it. It doesn't mean I ignore it. It doesn't mean I stuff it. I still need to process through it, but I can't fix other people. And sometimes I can't fix situations. I can just show up as the most healthy version of myself in that situation, but I can't necessarily change it or fix it. So I need to separate to this is what I have control over. Like, this is what I can contribute to. These are things that I can like put down on a list and actually like do and make progress on. Once you get to that place, I guarantee you, or maybe I won't guarantee, I feel pretty confident. I will almost guarantee you that the list that you started with, that scary pile of murder laundry clothes, is significantly smaller. And now you can kind of see your brain on paper and recognize, wow, that's not as scary as it was in the dark. It's just not as scary as it was in the dark. It's a number, it's a project, it's a thing. I can now plot steps to get there. Once you get to this point, then I think you are ready to start on your journey on the Oregon Trail, getting back on the wagon and starting over again. If you need some help getting started with kind of decluttering your mind and getting everything that's in your brain and all of that overwhelm out on paper or digital paper, I will have a PDF down in the description that will have journal prompts, questions to ask yourself to just kind of get your mind moving in that direction to try to get your brain to let go of all the stuff that it's holding on to. We want to get that out into the light so that you can breathe, so that you can see a more clear path forward. That's all I have for you today. Down below, I have various resources for you to check out that might be helpful. If it resonates with you, by all means, use them. If not, feel free to skip them. And always retrofit anything that I'm sharing to your personal creative process or how you are working through things, because everybody's different. So these are just suggestions from my personal experience and also from other creatives who seem to have some kind of common ground. I also have a Discord channel if you want to hop in there and just have any discussion. I try to check that often. That's all I have for you today, so I will see you next time. Bye.